Good afternoon from Philadelphia. So I'm in the Schuylkill River Park near Rittenhouse Square. A couple of days ago, I was reading a survey by an organization called Back to India. They surveyed over 1,100 NRIs from all over the world to see what was the key reason for people returning to India. So there is definitely a trend of Indians from all different age groups, all different backgrounds who are going back to India, and this study was trying to figure out what are the key reasons. So the first reason is parents who are aging. About 74%, or over 70% of the respondents mentioned that the fact that their parents are in India by themselves and they're getting old is one of the key reasons for them moving back to India. So this is very understandable. It's very difficult to manage older parents sitting in the U.S. In many cases, the parents do come over to the U.S. They spend time with their kids here, but that's not an ideal solution because most Indian Americans tend to be in the suburbs, and in the suburbs, you definitely need to have a transportation to move around. It's not like the Philadelphia, the city there where I'm living currently. You don't need a car. I actually don't have a car. I haven't had a car in almost 10 years. You can walk everywhere. You can take Uber. You can take subway and things like that. But that's not possible in the suburbs. So if you do come to the suburb, you have to learn to drive. Otherwise, you're going to be like totally bored. Once the kids and the grandkids get out of the house in the morning, then what do you do? This can be very boring, particularly during winter. So that's one issue. Second issue is if the parents are here long term, they need very strong insurance. You can't depend on the insurance that you have. I would call it more of a travel insurance than anything else that most parents have when they come over. That's not a good insurance to have for a long-term stay. I know cases where the parent came here, they were diagnosed with some serious illness, and hospitalization and emergency services will cost thousands of dollars, and it can put you at serious financial risk. So that's the number one reason. The second reason is children growing up without Indian heritage. So it's something that almost all of us know. Like second generation Indian Americans, for them are Americans. They're born here, they're brought up here, they go to school here. So it's very unreasonable to ask them to learn Indian languages, adopt Indian cultures. So some of them, might know a little bit of their mother tongue, but in most cases, they definitely are losing touch with India. And the schedule here is so busy that, you cannot just go and spend a lot of time in India during summer and things like that. I've been very lucky. My daughter is very fluent in Malayalam. She can actually read and write Malayalam, which I cannot do. I can read, write, and speak Tamil, but not Malayalam. I can only speak Malayalam. But my daughter has picked up Malayalam, so she is able to connect with her parents and grandparents, which is a good thing. But that's not the common thing among Indian Americans. The third topic, the key reason why NRIs are going back to India is aging in the US is frightening, and I 100% agree with that. I see a lot of old Americans. If you go to condos in big cities, you'll see a lot of older Americans, including Indian Americans, who are pretty much alone most of their lives, most of the year. They may have some family gatherings here and there, but for the most part, they're by themselves. And once the health declines further, most Americans are in what they call independent senior living homes. And an average independent senior living home will cost about $70,000 a year on top of other expenses. So it's not only very expensive, you are not really getting a lot of bang for the buck, because even after spending $70,000, you are for most part by yourself. There will be some other seniors along with you, but you might have difficulty connecting with them. You might be from a totally different background and things like that. So That's a big issue, and I did mention that in my very first video. That's one of the key reasons for me moving back to India, among others, like expensive healthcare. Another issue why a lot of Indian Americans are going back is that the job market is very different today than it was, like, say, 20 years ago or 25 years ago. There was a huge influx of Indians into the United States through the H-1B program. It is still there, but the job opportunities are a lot less. And the next point that is related to that is that the green card process is also becoming very tougher. When I came here back in '92, after I graduated, it took me only, I believe, 12 or 13, I will say 12 to 15 months to get my green card. It was that easy. And the reason why it took that long for me is my lawyer was not at all familiar with the green card process. So she herself was learning. I was the first person. She was, her first client who was doing this process. Even my company that I was working for at that time did not know how to do this process. So it took 15 months. It could have been done in lesser time. But now that is not the case. Now, from what I am reading, green card will take at least 15 years, and then you have to wait another 4.5 years before you can apply for the US citizenship. So you are basically looking at anywhere from 15 to 25 years before you can become a US citizen. So you're going to be in a temporary visa status for a very long time, and that's not a good feeling. So that's one of the key reasons why a lot of NRIs are returning back to India from the US. And I want to mention like two more things. One is a lot of Indians also mention that India is not the country that it was 20 or 25 years ago. In my case, it is definitely not the same country. I remember the early 1980s, early 1990s in India, very different country than what it is today. I would say in the majority of the way, it is a lot better than what it was in the 1980s. In a small way, it might have digressed. I would say cleanliness probably today, probably in the 80s was slightly better, at least in Kerala, than in what it is in Kerala today. So there might be a few areas where India was worse off today, but in majority of the ways, India is a million times better than what it was in the 80s. It took, like, I remember the first time I came back to India after I went to the US. The only way you can fly is to fly through Europe. So you have to fly from east coast of US to a European country, and then fly to either Mumbai or Delhi, and then fly to the South Indian cities, and huge transit times. I remember the transit time in London was something like 15 hours. That is completely different. Now you can fly from Philadelphia to Kochi in 19 hours with a very small transit time in Qatar. So things have changed. India itself has changed. There are a lot more opportunities, job opportunities, business opportunities in India today than it was before. So that's one of the key reasons that is motivating Indians to move back to India. And the last reason, which is a huge reason for me, is that your money goes a long way in India than in the US at this point. There is no doubt about it. As I mentioned, senior living will alone cost you $70,000 a year, basic fee, and then on top of it, you have to add all kinds of healthcare costs, life insurance costs, so many other things. Like if you have a car, you have to pay for auto insurance, things like that. So it's pretty expensive. Whereas in India, I think in most big great cities, I would say cities outside the major metros, you can easily live for $1,000 a month. So that is an extremely attractive trade-off in my view. So if you are able to save like $12,000 or $15,000 a year, then you can have a very comfortable life in most cities in India, maybe except the major metros like Mumbai or Delhi, but in all other places, you can have a very comfortable retirement for $10 to $15,000 a year. So I just wanted to mention all these, list all these things. So if you are thinking of going back to India, I want to know from you what is the key driving force, or at least let me know which one of this do you think is a key factor. Okay. So it was nice talking to you. Hopefully we'll connect again soon. Bye.